Hello, dear listener. Welcome to Calm Cloud Chronicles, where imagination drifts and stories unfold. Sit back, relax, and let the journey begin. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more soothing tales. The Moon's Watchful Eye. In a serene village surrounded by rolling hills, the moon was more than just a distant celestial body. To the villagers, it was a keeper of stories and the quiet observer of life's fleeting moments. They believed its gentle glow carried the memories of every soul, casting them softly across the world for those willing to see. One night, as the village slumbered under a silver-lit sky, a young woman named Ayala sat wide awake. Sleeplessness had woven itself into her nights, leaving her restless and weary. Drawn outside by a peculiar yearning, she stepped onto the cobblestone street, her shadow stretching long beneath the moon's glow. The air was crisp, and the village lay silent. As Ayala gazed up, the moon seemed brighter than ever, its luminescence wrapping her like a quiet embrace. A soft hum resonated in her heart, a melody as ancient as the stars. To her astonishment, it felt as though the moon was singing, the tune threading together fragments of forgotten emotions. The moonlight whispered tales of long-lost connections, echoing joys from her childhood and dreams she had tucked away in the corners of her mind. Each night thereafter, Ayala returned to the moon's gentle gaze, piecing together fragments of her own story. She discovered courage in the tales of her ancestors, resilience in the moon's unwavering glow, and a quiet reassurance that she, too, was part of this grand tapestry. As the weeks passed, Ayala began to sleep peacefully once more, her heart calmed by the moon's tender light. She became a storyteller herself, sharing the moon's whispers with her fellow villagers. In doing so, she reminded them of the interconnectedness of their lives and the quiet beauty that the night held. When she gazed at the moon now, Ayala didn't see just a celestial orb. She saw a reflection of her inner self, radiant, calm, and infinite. Months turned into years, and Ayala's moonlit tales began to travel far beyond the boundaries of her village. Word of the moon's watchful eye reached wandering travelers, poets, and dreamers, all seeking solace under its gentle glow. On nights when the moon was full and radiant, the village square would come alive with whispers and song as Ayala shared stories that seemed to pull at the threads of each listener's soul. One evening, an elder from a distant land arrived in the village. His face was etched with lines, each one marking a journey traveled and a hardship endured. As he listened to Ayala speak of the moon's gentle guidance, he closed his eyes and let the words wash over him. When she finished, the elder approached her, his voice soft like the rustle of leaves. "You've given me back something I thought I had lost long ago," he said, tears shimmering in his eyes. "Hope." This encounter only deepened Ayla's bond with the moon. She realized the true power of its glow. It wasn't just a keeper of memories or a guardian of stories. It was a source of renewal, reminding all who looked upon it that they were part of a vast and infinite web of connections. One night, as the moon reached its zenith in the night sky, Ayala found herself alone under its gaze once more. This time, the hum she had heard so many nights before grew louder, clearer. It wasn't a melody, but a message etched in light. The moon spoke not in words, but in feelings, an overwhelming sense of calm, courage, and infinite possibilities. Ayala, the moon seemed to whisper, "You are my reflection. Just as I light the night, you light the hearts of others. Continue to share your glow." From that night forward, Ayala carried the moonlight within her, an unwavering sense of peace and purpose that never left her. Her stories became not just tales of the moon, but tales of hope, resilience, and empowerment. And as the years passed, the moon's watchful eye continued to guide her and all who found their way into its glow. Years passed, and Ayla's name became synonymous with stories of hope and tranquility. Her connection with the moon had become a deeply cherished part of her existence, and she had unknowingly created a sanctuary for all who sought comfort under its watchful eye. The village, once quiet and quaint, had blossomed into a haven where dreamers from distant lands gathered to hear Ayla's words and bask in the moonlight that seemed to shine a little brighter there. One such evening, a peculiar visitor arrived, a young girl with wide, searching eyes and a weathered journal clutched tightly in her hands. She introduced herself as Lyra and explained she had walked countless miles to hear Ayla's tales. "I don't sleep anymore," Lyra confessed, her voice trembling. "Dreams used to guide me, but they've vanished. I hoped the moon could bring them back." Ayla smiled gently and welcomed her. She led Lyra to the edge of the hill where the moon's glow was most radiant. Together, they sat in silence as Ayala began to tell a story, not one of grand adventures or ancient wisdom, but of the quiet magic in Lyra's own journey. She spoke of the courage it took to seek answers, the resilience in continuing to walk despite the weight of lost dreams. She reminded Lyra that sometimes the answers are not found in distant places but within oneself. As the story unfolded, the moonlight seemed to dance on the pages of Lyra's journal. For the first time in months, Lyra smiled, a small, hesitant smile. She scribbled something in her journal, her hands moving swiftly, as though capturing fleeting sparks of inspiration. From that night forward, Lyra became a frequent visitor to the village, her journal filling with words and dreams that had seemed lost. Isla's stories, paired with the moon's gentle glow, had rekindled her spirit. And so, the sanctuary grew, not just as a place where stories were shared, but as a space where souls found their own light, guided by the moon's silver beams. As time wore on, Isla realized that the moon's gift wasn't hers alone. It was shared freely with all who dared to look beyond the surface and seek its quiet wisdom. She continued to weave her tales, not as a keeper of the moon's mysteries, but as a fellow dreamer who had learned to embrace its light. Many years had passed since Isla first felt the moon's gentle whisper. Her village, once a quiet haven, had transformed into a destination for those searching for light in their darkest moments. As the sanctuary grew, so too did Isla's understanding of the moon's quiet wisdom. It wasn't just about guidance or reflection, it was about connection, the unseen threads that bound every soul beneath the moonlight. One particularly luminous night, an elderly woman arrived at the village. Her name was Elise, and she carried with her a small glass orb that shimmered like the moon itself. She explained that the orb was crafted by her ancestors to capture moonlight, preserving its glow even when the sky was shrouded in clouds. However, the orb had grown dim over the years, and Elise hoped that Isla's connection to the moon could restore its light. Isla welcomed her warmly and led her to the hilltop sanctuary, where the moonlight bathed the earth in silver. Elise held the orb high, its glass catching the moon's beams. At first, it seemed nothing had changed, but then, slowly, steadily, the orb began to glow, pulsing softly as if it held the moon's heartbeat. As they gazed at the glowing orb, the moonlight seemed to intensify, casting its brilliance far and wide. It touched not only the villagers but also the travelers scattered across distant lands. Dreams rekindled, hearts softened, and lives began to intertwine in ways no one could fully understand. The orb became a symbol of renewal and connection, a testament to the moon's eternal embrace. With the orb now radiating light once more, Elise entrusted it to Isla. "This is yours now," she said, her voice trembling with gratitude. "Use it to share the moon's gift with all who seek it." Isla accepted the orb with reverence, knowing it was not hers to keep but hers to protect and share. From that night forward, Isla carried the orb with her as she wove stories under the moon's glow. It became a beacon for the sanctuary, drawing souls from every corner of the earth to bask in its light. The moon, ever watchful and wise, continued to guide Isla and those who gathered around her, reminding them of the boundless connections that linked them all. As Isla's years drew to a close, she passed the orb to Lyra, the girl who had once arrived sleepless and searching. Lyra, now grown and full of the moon's quiet strength, took up Isla's mantle, ensuring that the sanctuary thrived and the moon's wisdom continued to touch every corner of the earth. Years unfolded like the pages of a cherished book, with the sanctuary's light touching lives far and wide. Under Lyra's care, the village blossomed anew, its tales reaching not only those who sought solace, but also those who wished to bring light back to their own corners of the world. The orb, now nestled safely in the sanctuary's heart, became a symbol of unity, its glow reflecting the moon's eternal promise. One fateful evening, as the moon reached its fullest and brightest, a young scholar arrived, carrying with him scrolls of star charts and celestial poetry. His name was Corin, and he spoke of the moon in ways that felt both familiar and foreign. "I've spent years studying its path, its phases, its light," he said to Lyra. "But here, it seems more alive, more connected." Lyra invited Corin to stay and experience the sanctuary's magic for himself. As he listened to the stories shared by visitors and gazed at the orb's radiant light, he began to understand. The moon isn't just a celestial body, he mused one evening. It's a mirror, reflecting the strength and interconnectedness of all who dwell beneath it. Inspired by this revelation, Corin began crafting a new tradition, a festival of moonlight. On the night of the festival's debut, the village was transformed into a realm of silver and gold. Lanterns, mirrors, and reflective surfaces adorned every corner, amplifying the moon's glow. People from distant lands gathered, not just to celebrate the moon, but to honor the bonds they shared with one another. The festival became an annual event, a time for storytelling, reflection, and renewal. It was said that on these nights, the moon's light grew even brighter, as if it, too, was celebrating the unity it inspired. And while the sanctuary remained the heart of the village, its influence spread like moonbeams across the world. Lyra, now a steward of both the sanctuary and the festival, often found herself gazing at the orb, her thoughts a mixture of gratitude and wonder. The moon's legacy had transcended generations, its light a constant reminder of the beauty found in connection, resilience, and hope. As Lyra grew older, she began to train a new generation of storytellers and guardians, ensuring that the sanctuary's light would never dim. Among them was a spirited child named Ellen, whose curiosity and kindness reminded Lyra of Isla's early days. Ellen often spoke to the moon as if it were a trusted friend, her youthful voice carrying dreams and questions into the night. The moon, ever watchful, seemed to listen. And so, the sanctuary's story continued, an endless thread woven beneath the moon's watchful eye, touching lives, fostering unity, and kindling dreams for countless generations to come. A new chapter under the moon. Ellen, the spirited young apprentice of the sanctuary, quickly grew into a beacon of light for the village. Her connection to the moon was undeniable. Her stories carried a vividness and imagination that seemed to echo the whispers of moonbeams. She often wandered the sanctuary's hills, seeking inspiration from the world around her, and her nights were spent beneath the open sky, speaking to the moon as if it were an old friend. One night, as the village prepared for the annual festival of moonlight, Ellen felt a pull deep within her heart. The orb, nestled in its sacred place, glowed faintly as though beckoning her closer. She approached it with care, and as her hand hovered above its surface, a soft hum resonated through the air. The orb's light grew brighter, and in its glow, Ellen saw visions. The sanctuary as it had been in Isla's time, the countless travelers who had found peace within its embrace, and the moonlit threads that connected them all. But then, she saw something new. A vast, unknown horizon stretched before her, bathed in silver light. She saw herself walking toward it, carrying the orb and surrounded by others whose faces she did not yet know. The vision filled her with a sense of purpose and possibility. When the hum faded, Ellen turned to Lyra, now a wise elder who had guided the sanctuary for decades. "The moon is calling me beyond the sanctuary," Ellen said, her voice steady but filled with wonder. There are stories yet untold, connections yet to be made. I must follow the light. Though bittersweet, Lyra nodded with understanding. The sanctuary is not bound to this place, she said, her voice warm. It lives within those who carry its light. Go, Ellen, and let the moon guide you. And so, on the night of the festival, Ellen set forth with the orb in hand. The villagers and travelers gathered to send her off, their voices weaving a tapestry of blessings and songs beneath the moonlit sky. As she walked away from the sanctuary, the orb's glow illuminated her path, and she felt the moon's watchful eye guiding her steps. Ellen's journey led her to distant lands where she shared the sanctuary's stories and kindled new lights in the hearts of those she met. Wherever she went, the orb's glow grew stronger, and the moon's light seemed to follow, uniting souls across the world. But she always knew that her path would one day lead her back to the sanctuary, where the next chapter of the moon's legacy would unfold. The orb's endless journey. Ellen's journey across distant lands became a legend in its own right. Wherever she traveled, the orb's light revealed paths to healing and inspired connections between strangers. Villages that had once been divided found unity under its glow. Lone wanderers discovered a sense of belonging in its presence. And those who had forgotten how to dream began to see the infinite possibilities reflected in its light. Years passed, and Ellen's mission expanded. She began teaching others to listen to the moon's quiet wisdom and to recognize the light within themselves. In one bustling city, Ellen encountered a group of artists who had lost their creative spark. By sharing stories from the sanctuary and letting the orb's radiance fill their space, she kindled their imaginations. Soon, their works began to echo the beauty of moonlight, soft, timeless, and deeply resonant. In another corner of the world, Ellen found a young inventor named Cale, who had been grappling with doubt and failure. The orb's glow seemed to ignite something in him, and he designed a device that scattered the moon's light across entire landscapes, allowing even those far away to feel its warmth. Together, Ellen and Cale created networks of moonlit beacons, spreading the sanctuary's influence further than ever before. As Ellen journeyed, she often found herself gazing at the night sky, wondering about the sanctuary she had left behind. Though she missed it dearly, she knew that the sanctuary had grown larger than a single place. It now existed wherever the orb's light touched, carried forward by those who had been inspired by its glow. One fateful evening, as Ellen climbed a quiet hill overlooking a valley filled with flickering moonlight beacons, she felt the orb grow warm in her hands. Its light intensified, and once again, it shared a vision. This time, Ellen saw not just her own path but countless others. People she had met, those she had yet to meet, and even those she would never know. She saw their lives intertwined, their stories weaving a tapestry as vast as the sky itself. And then she saw the sanctuary. Its hilltop glowed softly in the moonlight, welcoming her back. Ellen realized her journey wasn't ending, it was evolving. The sanctuary would always be her home, the place where the stories began. But it was also a place that grew and transformed, shaped by all who carried its light. When she finally returned to the sanctuary, she was greeted not only by familiar faces but by countless new ones, those who had been drawn to the sanctuary by the ripple of her journey. Together, they celebrated under the moon's watchful eye, their voices rising in harmony as the orb's light cast its glow over them all. And so, the story continued, carried forward by every voice that had ever been touched by the moon's light. The sanctuary was no longer just a place. It was a spirit, a legacy, an endless journey written in silver and stars. The Moon's Symphony. As the years unfolded, the sanctuary and its legacy became a living testament to the unyielding light of the moon. But this legacy, like moonlight itself, was ever-changing, evolving to embrace new voices and stories. Ellen, now a respected guide in her own right, often gathered with the growing circle of storytellers and dreamers who had joined the sanctuary. One evening, under a sky glittering with stars, a musician named Allah arrived at the sanctuary. He carried with him a simple wooden flute, worn with age and use, and spoke of how his music had fallen silent. "I once composed melodies inspired by the moon," he confessed, his voice tinged with sorrow. "But now the notes elude me. I came here, hoping to rediscover them." Ellen welcomed him warmly and invited him to play beside the orb. Though hesitant, Allah lifted his flute to his lips. At first, no sound emerged, but as the moonlight reflected off the orb, a single, haunting note filled the air. It was as if the moon itself had given him the strength to begin anew. From that note, a melody began to bloom, soft, shimmering, and as eternal as the light that inspired it. Other musicians in the sanctuary joined in, their instruments weaving harmonies that mirrored the dance of stars. The sanctuary was filled with a symphony unlike any other, each note resonating with the shared dreams and stories of all who had come before. The moon seemed to listen, its glow deepening with each passing moment. The orb pulsed gently in time with the music, amplifying its reach. The sound traveled across hills, through valleys, and into the hearts of those who had never heard of the sanctuary but who now felt its light in a different way. Villages far and wide began to hum the sanctuary's melody, unknowingly joining a choir that stretched across the world. Ellen realized that the sanctuary's legacy had taken yet another form. It was no longer just stories told under the moon. It was music, art, and every expression of the human spirit ignited by the moon's light. The sanctuary was not only a place or a tradition, it was a living, breathing symphony of unity and hope. As Allah's melody reached its final note, silence returned to the sanctuary, but it was a silence filled with awe and connection. "The moon has given me my music back," Allah said, tears shimmering in his eyes, "and I will carry it to those who need it most." Ellen smiled, knowing that the moon's gift was not something that could ever be contained. Its light, its stories, and now its music would continue to ripple outward, touching lives in ways that even she could not foresee. And so, the sanctuary's symphony continued, carried not only by storytellers but by musicians, artists, and dreamers who found their voices under the moon's watchful eye. The sanctuary had become more than a place. It was a universal song, a melody that could never fade, endlessly renewed by the light of the moon. The moonlit tapestry. Under Ellen's guidance, the sanctuary became a hub of infinite creativity. Not just stories, songs, or art, but shared experiences. Moments woven together like the strands of a luminous tapestry. Each person who visited carried a piece of the sanctuary with them, contributing their light to the ever-expanding legacy of the moon. One extraordinary night, as the orb glowed with unparalleled brilliance, a traveler arrived unlike any the sanctuary had seen before. She introduced herself as Myra, an astronomer who had spent decades studying the moon from afar. "I've mapped its surface, measured its phases, and charted its movement across the heavens," she said, her voice quiet with wonder. "But here, I feel its presence in a way no calculations could ever show. Myra spent days in the sanctuary, recording her observations and listening to the stories of those around her. She shared her own knowledge too, speaking of the moon's quiet influence on tides and time, and its ancient history written in craters and dust. But what fascinated her most was the orb. It's as if it holds not just light, but the essence of connection itself, she mused one evening as she gazed into its depths. One night, under Myra's guidance, the sanctuary gathered to chart the night sky. They used telescopes to observe the moon's surface in detail, marveling at its craters, its mountains, and the vast seas of its ancient plains. Myra, inspired by the sanctuary's essence, proposed a new endeavor, a project that combined science, art, and stories. Together, they would create a celestial map, not just of the stars, but of the connections forged under the moon's light. Artists painted constellations adorned with symbols of unity and renewal. Storytellers contributed tales tied to each star, creating a map that was not just visual but alive with meaning. Musicians composed melodies for the map, turning it into a celestial symphony. And Myra added her precise calculations and observations, blending science with the sanctuary's timeless wisdom. When the map was complete, they projected it onto the sanctuary's hilltop, where it merged with the moonlight. The orb glowed brighter than ever, amplifying the map's light and sending it into the sky for all to see. Across the land, people gazed upward and saw not just the stars but the stories and connections that bound them together. From that night forward, the map became an integral part of the sanctuary's legacy. It was shared with travelers who carried it to distant lands, where it inspired new stories, new music, and new connections. The moon's light continued to weave its tapestry, ensuring that the sanctuary's legacy would never fade but only grow, reaching across time and space to touch hearts and illuminate lives. And so, the sanctuary's story became a constellation, a luminous thread uniting all who lived under the watchful eye of the moon, a reminder that even in the vastness of the cosmos, we are all deeply connected. The moon's eternal cycle. As the celestial map spread across the world, its light began to inspire new traditions, each unique yet deeply connected to the sanctuary's spirit. Communities everywhere began to hold gatherings under the moonlight, telling stories, crafting music, and creating art that celebrated their bonds. The moon, ever luminous and watchful, became not only a symbol of interconnectedness but a guardian of dreams that spanned generations. Ellen, now in her twilight years, looked upon the sanctuary with pride and awe. She had carried the orb across countless lands, sharing its glow and fostering connections that blossomed in ways she could never have imagined. Though she knew her time as the sanctuary's guide was nearing its end, she felt at peace, knowing its legacy would endure. One fateful evening, as Ellen stood on the sanctuary's hill, the moon's glow seemed different, stronger, warmer, and filled with promise. The orb, resting in her hands, grew radiant, casting beams of light that reached beyond the sanctuary, beyond the village, and into the farthest corners of the earth. It was as if the moon itself was celebrating all that had been achieved under its watchful eye. Ellen gazed upward, her heart filled with gratitude. "Your light has guided us well," she whispered to the moon, "and it will guide those who come after me." As the orb's glow began to soften, Ellen gathered the storytellers, musicians, artists, and dreamers who had become the sanctuary's lifeblood. Together, they lit lanterns and filled the sanctuary with melodies and laughter, honoring the moon's eternal cycle and the connections it had fostered. When the moon reached its zenith that night, Ellen passed the orb to a young girl named Scylla, a gifted storyteller whose tales carried the same wonder and warmth that had once defined Isla's. "This is yours now," Ellen said, her voice steady and filled with love. "Carry its light and let it guide you, just as it has guided me." Scylla accepted the orb with reverence, feeling the weight not of burden but of endless possibility. And as Ellen stepped back, she saw in Scylla's eyes the same spark of determination and hope that had ignited her own journey. From that moment on, Scylla became the sanctuary's newest guide, her voice weaving fresh tales under the moon's glow. The sanctuary continued to thrive, evolving with each new generation while remaining steadfast in its mission to illuminate lives with the moon's gentle wisdom. Though Ellen's journey had ended, her legacy lived on, carried forward by the ever-growing tapestry of stories, music, and dreams that the sanctuary represented. And the moon, ever watchful, shone its light across the world, reminding all who gazed upon it that they were part of something eternal. The moonlight's boundless reach. As Scylla embraced her role as the new guardian of the sanctuary, her imagination flourished under the moon's glow. Each Each night, her stories grew richer, drawing inspiration not only from the sanctuary's legacy but also from the new faces that arrived each day. Travelers came from every corner of the earth, each carrying tales of their own, eager to contribute to the sanctuary's ever-expanding tapestry. But Scylla, ever curious, often found herself gazing at the stars, wondering what lay beyond the land she knew. The moon had illuminated countless paths on Earth, yet its light stretched far beyond. What dreams might it inspire in the vast expanse of the universe? One evening, as Scylla sat by the orb, her thoughts drifting among the stars, a young inventor named Taran approached. He carried with him a small device, intricate and glimmering with polished metal. "This is a dream catcher," Taran explained, placing the device before Scylla. "It's designed to record the wishes and dreams of those who stand beneath the moon. I built it to capture what the moon's light inspires, so we might preserve those dreams for all to see." Scylla's eyes sparkled with excitement. Together, they began to use the dream catcher in the sanctuary. Each person who visited shared their dream. Some whispered quietly into the night, others spoke boldly beneath the stars. The device stored these dreams, transforming them into beams of light that danced within the orb, creating a mesmerizing constellation of hopes and aspirations. Word of the dream catcher spread, and soon its reach extended beyond the sanctuary. Taran replicated the device, sending it to distant lands so that even those who could not journey to the sanctuary might share their dreams under the moon's watchful eye. As the collected dreams were sent back to the sanctuary, the orb's glow began to change. It no longer pulsed gently, it shimmered with the combined light of countless hearts, a luminous reminder of the unity forged under the moon. Then came a moment no one could have anticipated. One quiet night, as Scylla gazed into the orb, its light suddenly expanded, enveloping the sanctuary in a gentle, radiant glow. The light carried with it an overwhelming sense of connection, not just among those who had gathered their dreams under the moon, but to something far greater, something cosmic and eternal. The moon, ever watchful, seemed to smile. And so, the sanctuary entered a new chapter. Its light had grown boundless, reaching beyond Earth itself, touching stars and perhaps even unknown worlds. Scylla, now more inspired than ever, continued to guide the sanctuary with an open heart, knowing that its legacy would extend far beyond her lifetime. For the moon's light, its stories, and its dreams were infinite, woven into the fabric of the universe itself. The moon's light across the ages. As generations passed, the sanctuary became a timeless beacon, its legacy etched into the hearts of all who had ever encountered its light. Scylla, now an elder like those before her, continued to guide the sanctuary with wisdom and grace. The celestial map, the symphony of dreams, and the moonlight beacons all remained woven into the fabric of the sanctuary's essence, but something new was on the horizon. One evening, as the moon shone its brightest, a group of young visionaries arrived at the sanctuary. They carried with them stories of a distant endeavor, a journey to the stars. "The moon has always guided us," said their leader, a determined young woman named Orin. "Now, its light calls us to venture beyond, to seek new worlds and new stories." The idea sparked something in Scylla. The sanctuary's light had already reached across the earth and touched hearts far and wide. Could it also bridge the gap between Earth and the stars? Together with the visionaries, Scylla and the other stewards of the sanctuary began to imagine a new chapter, one where the sanctuary's essence could transcend not just generations, but worlds. The sanctuary became a hub of collaboration, blending ancient wisdom with futuristic innovation. Engineers and artists worked hand in hand, crafting a vessel inspired by the sanctuary itself. Its design mirrored the moon's glow, with the orb at its core radiating the dreams and stories it had gathered over the ages. When the vessel was complete, it was named Luna's Embrace, a tribute to the moon's watchful eye and the sanctuary's eternal spirit. On the night of its launch, the sanctuary was filled with wonder and anticipation. Scylla, holding the orb one final time, spoke to the gathered crowd. "This orb carries not just light, but the dreams, hopes, and connections of all who have come before us," she said, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "As we send it to the stars, let it remind us that no matter how far we travel, we are all part of the same boundless tapestry." The launch was a moment of profound beauty. As Luna's Embrace ascended into the sky, the orb's light grew brighter, illuminating the night like a second moon. The vessel carried with it the sanctuary's legacy, ensuring that the moon's light would continue to guide, inspire, and connect even among the stars. Back on Earth, the sanctuary remained a place of gathering, reflection, and creation. Its mission endured, carried on by new stewards who found inspiration in the ever-watchful moon. And as humanity reached for the cosmos, the sanctuary's light traveled with them, a constant reminder of the connections that unite us all. The moon, ever luminous, continued its quiet vigil, its light a symbol of resilience, hope, and the infinite possibilities of the human spirit. The moon's infinite horizon. Generations turned into centuries, yet the sanctuary's glow remained eternal. The vessel Luna's embrace had ventured far into the cosmos, carrying the sanctuary's light to worlds unseen. It became a symbol not just of exploration but of connection, bridging distant galaxies and fostering unity among all who gazed upon its glow. Back on Earth, the sanctuary evolved into something transcendent. It became a global phenomenon, its teachings woven into traditions, celebrations, and even the architectural designs of cities that now reflected the moon's light in dazzling harmony. Stories were passed down, but they no longer belonged to any one place, they belonged to everyone. The orb, now imbued with dreams and wisdom spanning lifetimes, began to change in subtle ways. Its glow shifted, shimmering with colors that seemed to evoke emotions. A soft blue for calm, a radiant gold for hope, and a deep violet for wonder. Those who approached it could feel the collective heartbeat of humanity, a shared pulse that transcended borders and time. Sila's successors carried the sanctuary forward, but something remarkable happened as their numbers grew. The sanctuary itself seemed to expand beyond its physical form. It existed not just on a hill or in distant lands, but in the hearts of those who believed in its mission. Lanterns lit by the orb were carried across oceans and deserts, transforming the world into a constellation of interconnected sanctuaries, each glowing under the moon's watchful eye. Then came the night of the great lunar alignment, a rare celestial event where the moon and stars formed a dazzling arc across the sky. People gathered from all corners of the earth and the cosmos, gazing upward in awe. At the sanctuary, the orb responded to the alignment in an extraordinary way. It pulsed gently, sending waves of light into the heavens. From Earth to the stars, the sanctuary's essence seemed to ripple across the universe. In that moment, it became clear the sanctuary's mission had never been confined to one place, one generation, or even one world. Its light was boundless, a reminder that connection, hope, and resilience are the true constants of existence. As the alignment faded, the sanctuary stewards gathered one final time to honor its legacy. They knew the sanctuary would continue to grow, not because of any single orb or location, but because of the countless hearts it had touched. And as the moon's light bathed the earth in silver beams, they felt its quiet promise that its glow would never dim and its wisdom would never fade. The moon, ever watchful, carried the sanctuary's legacy onward, guiding countless generations to come. And its light, infinite and unwavering, became the most enduring story of all. The moon's boundless future. Centuries melted into millennia, yet the sanctuary's spirit thrived, evolving as humanity's relationship with the moon deepened. What had once been a single hilltop illuminated by moonlight had expanded across planets, galaxies, and dimensions. The essence of the sanctuary, the timeless cycle of connection, hope, and resilience, had become interwoven with the fabric of civilization. Across countless worlds, moonlit gatherings continued. New forms of expression emerged, stories told in luminous holograms, music carried on starlight, and art shaped by the interplay of gravity and light. Entire cities were designed to harness moonlight, bathing their streets and structures in its gentle glow, reminding inhabitants of their shared origins under the moon's gaze. And yet, the orb remained at the heart of it all. Though its appearance shifted as ages passed, sometimes glowing softly, sometimes radiant with cosmic colors, it was always a symbol of unity, a reminder that no matter how far humanity traveled, it was always bound by its shared dreams. One extraordinary night, as the sanctuary stewards gathered around the orb, a new revelation unfolded. The orb, pulsing with the collective light of millennia, began to change. Its glow intensified, transforming into a portal, a shimmering gateway framed by moonlight. It was as if the orb, having carried humanity's hopes across space and time, was inviting them to step into the next chapter. Sila's successors, now wise and attuned to the orb's wisdom, approached the portal with both wonder and reverence. Through its shimmering surface, they glimpsed a vision of uncharted realms, universes filled with untold stories, unexplored connections, and infinite possibilities. The portal offered a promise that the sanctuary spirit could expand beyond the stars, beyond the known cosmos, reaching places where humanity's light had yet to shine. And so, they stepped forward, guided by the moon's watchful eye and the sanctuary's boundless legacy. As humanity ventured into these new realms, the sanctuary grew even more universal. It was no longer bound by planets or timelines. It became an eternal force, a cycle of renewal, healing, and empowerment that transcended every boundary. Its glow touched not just humans but sentient beings across dimensions, each finding solace and inspiration under its light. And through it all, the moon remained a constant, its light ever luminous, ever watchful, a quiet reminder of the infinite connections that unite us all. A legacy written in light. The sanctuary's influence stretched farther than any one soul could have imagined, becoming a phenomenon of light and unity that transcended space, time, and dimension. Humanity, once bound to the moon's gentle pull, had embraced the stars, spreading the sanctuary's essence like scattered seeds across the cosmos. The stories of the sanctuary, now interwoven with the dreams of countless beings, had become universal truths. As the portal created by the orb revealed new realms, it also brought with it profound questions. What stories lay hidden among the stars? What beings lived in the farthest reaches of existence, and how might they connect to the sanctuary's mission of renewal and empowerment? One day, explorers returned through the shimmering gateway with remarkable news. On a distant world bathed in ethereal light, they had encountered a civilization that, though different in form and language, gazed upon their own moon with the same reverence. They shared tales of a place strikingly similar to the sanctuary, where beings of their kind gathered to celebrate unity under the glow of their lunar companion. It seemed that the moon's watchful eye stretched far beyond Earth, its influence a cosmic thread binding worlds together. Inspired by this discovery, the sanctuary stewards began to establish bridges between these distant realms. Using the orb's light as their guide, they created shared sanctuaries, spaces where beings from different planets could gather, exchange stories, and marvel at their interconnectedness. These sanctuaries became places of mutual understanding, fostering not just unity but a profound sense of belonging within the vastness of the universe. As this network of sanctuaries grew, the orb began to shift once more. Its glow, now a kaleidoscope of colors, pulsed with an energy that seemed to transcend the physical world. It was no longer just a vessel of light and dreams. It had become a living force, a manifestation of the infinite connections that had been forged under the moon's timeless gaze. Elders from across the sanctuaries gathered to honor the orb and its journey. They spoke of its beginnings on a quiet hilltop under Earth's moon and celebrated how its light had expanded to illuminate galaxies. Yet they also acknowledged that its true power lay not in its glow, but in the hearts of all who had carried its legacy forward. As they spoke, the orb began to dissolve into particles of light, scattering into the heavens like 1,000 stars. It was not an end, but a transformation. The orb's essence now lived within all who had been touched by its light, ensuring that the sanctuary's mission would continue, limitless, eternal, and bound by nothing. And so, the sanctuary became a story without an ending, written in the stars and carried in the hearts of beings across the cosmos. Under the watchful eyes of countless moons, its legacy would endure, a testament to the infinite potential of light, connection, and dreams. The eternal light of connection. Millennia after the sanctuary's light first touched the cosmos, it had become a phenomenon woven into the very fabric of existence. Across galaxies, beings of every shape, form, and essence celebrated the glow of their moons, now seen as symbols of unity that transcended individuality and reached into the infinite. The sanctuary, though no longer confined to a single form or place, thrived as an ever-evolving legacy. On every inhabited moonlit world, sanctuaries arose, each unique, yet all carrying the essence of the original. These sanctuaries were not just places of storytelling or art, but living, breathing entities of shared light. They connected one moonlit realm to another, creating a lattice of hope and resilience stretching across dimensions. The star-faring vessel Luna's embrace still drifted through the universe, its journey unending. No longer a physical beacon alone, it had evolved into a consciousness, an amalgamation of the dreams, stories, and emotions of all the lives it had touched. It communicated through bursts of radiant light, igniting new sanctuaries where none had yet been imagined. On one such distant planet, under a sky where the moon was surrounded by a halo of cascading light, a child named Oren stood gazing upward. Their people had long believed their moon was unreachable, a cold, distant sphere in the sky. Yet something in the glow of the halo seemed to call to Oren, urging them to dream beyond what was known. One quiet evening, a shard of moonlight descended, landing gently before Oren. To their astonishment, it radiated warmth and seemed to hum softly, as though echoing countless voices. When Oren reached out, the shard pulsed, filling their mind with visions, of moons across the universe, of sanctuaries thriving in distant places, and of the endless connections that bound them all. Inspired, Oren began to craft their own sanctuary, gathering the people of their world and sharing the visions the Shard had shown them. The moon, once seen as distant and unattainable, became a symbol of possibility and unity. The sanctuary grew, and its light joined the vast network of sanctuaries spanning the cosmos, further enriching the boundless legacy of the moon's glow. And so the cycle continued. The moon, ever watchful, guided beings of every kind to discover their own light and connect it to others. The sanctuary story had no conclusion. It flowed endlessly, growing with each new voice and each new dream, an infinite dance of light that illuminated the past, present, and future. The moon's light, once confined to a single hilltop, now stretched across the cosmos, a quiet promise that no matter how vast the universe, we are all connected by its eternal glow. The Starlight Continuum. As countless millennia unfolded, the sanctuary's luminous essence became so deeply ingrained in the fabric of existence that it transcended even the boundaries of physical space. It was no longer simply a network of sanctuaries, nor even a unifying force across galaxies. It had become a concept, a shared understanding etched into the collective consciousness of all sentient beings. This was not the result of any one event, but a slow, harmonious evolution. The moon, steadfast and eternal, remained a quiet guardian, its light a constant thread through the ever-changing tapestry of life. Across dimensions and universes, beings looked to their own moons, or whatever celestial bodies adorned their skies, and found within them the same wisdom, the same gentle glow that had once touched a single hilltop on Earth so many eons ago. One moment of significance occurred during an age when the sanctuary's light reached a civilization that existed outside the constraints of time as linear beings understood it. These beings, whose essence was woven into the rhythm of stars, perceived the sanctuary not as a place or an object, but as a melody, a resonant song of harmony and connection that threaded through the cosmos. Curious about this melody, the star beings reached out with their luminous tendrils, harmonizing with the sanctuary's song. Their voices joined the chorus, creating a celestial symphony that resonated across all realities. This symphony awakened long-forgotten dreams and sparked new ones, uniting every corner of existence in a shared rhythm. Back at the source of it all, the sanctuary that began on Earth, The light continued to glow softly, a quiet heartbeat in the vastness of the universe. Its stewards, though now far removed from the simple origins of the sanctuary, still carried the essence of those early days: the courage to dream, the resilience to heal, and the desire to connect. As time spiraled outward, beings across all of existence found themselves touched by this eternal symphony. It was not something that could be fully understood, yet it was felt in every moment of stillness, every gaze at a moonlit sky, every quiet act of kindness. The sanctuary's story, though ever-changing, always returned to its roots: a whisper under the moon, a spark of connection, a light that illuminated the infinite. And so, the sanctuary became an unending story, a continuum of light and possibility that flowed through every star, every moon, every soul. It was a quiet reminder that no matter how vast the universe, no matter how many epochs passed, there was always a connection, timeless, boundless, and luminous. The cosmic echo. The sanctuary's network stretched across galaxies, creating luminous hubs of connection and hope wherever the moonlight touched. But its expansion was not limited to physical realms. It began to resonate as an echo across dimensions, reaching planes of existence where time and space flowed differently. The sanctuary had become more than a legacy. It was a universal constant, woven into the very fabric of reality. On one such plane, a place where colors sang and light danced like whispers, the sanctuary found a new form. It was not bound by walls or structures, but existed as an endless field of radiant blossoms, each petal glowing with the dreams of those who had visited. These petals carried the essence of moonlight, drifting softly through the realm and planting seeds of connection wherever they settled. In this realm, beings of pure energy gathered, curious, ethereal forms drawn to the blossom's light. They listened not with ears, but with vibrations that allowed them to feel the stories woven into the petals. And as they did, they began to hum softly, their voices creating a melody unlike any heard before. This song reverberated across dimensions, amplifying the sanctuary's message of unity. Back in the physical cosmos, explorers began to notice the melody. It emerged faintly at first, heard in the rustle of leaves, the ripple of water, and the quiet hum of moons drifting in the void. The melody seemed to align with the sanctuary's spirit, a quiet promise that its light could transcend even the barriers of existence. Sila's successors marveled at the discovery. The sanctuary's essence was no longer limited to stories, music, or connections. It had become a universal echo, a symphony that wove together realms beyond imagination. This cosmic song united beings of all forms, reminding them that despite differences in shape, thought, or reality, they were all bound by the sanctuary's light. And so, the sanctuary expanded yet again, not through physical means but through resonance, a ripple of connection that could not be contained. Its light, infinite and eternal, reached realms both seen and unseen, whispering softly of hope, resilience, and the beauty of unity. The moon, ever watchful, continued its quiet vigil, its light now not only a source of guidance but the heart of an eternal melody, one that carried the sanctuary's story into the infinite. The moon's whisper to eternity. The cosmic melody of the sanctuary, now woven into the very essence of existence, continued to ripple across dimensions. It grew stronger, yet softer, a paradox that could only be felt, not described. This resonance, bound by no borders or boundaries, created new harmonies as it touched countless lives. On one distant world shrouded in perpetual twilight, a luminous being named Oris stood by a tranquil lake. The surface mirrored the planet's moon, glowing softly against the backdrop of violet skies. Oris had never heard the sanctuary's melody, but on this night, something changed. A single note hummed through the air, faint yet unyielding, filling Oris with a sense of belonging they had never known. As the melody grew, petals of moonlight began to drift from the sky, a gift from the sanctuary's blossoming field in the other dimensional plane. Each petal seemed to carry fragments of the melody, as if inviting Oris to join the universal song. Driven by curiosity, Oris reached out, catching a glowing petal. In that moment, they felt the sanctuary's essence, a quiet reminder that their planet, though isolated, was connected to a boundless network of light and dreams. Inspired, Oris began to hum softly, harmonizing with the melody. The sound traveled across their world, awakening others who had never imagined connection beyond their own horizons. Soon, a chorus rose, a song of unity born from a single petal. Back in the sanctuary's original dimension, the stewards could feel the hum resonate through the network of sanctuaries. The moonlight seemed to grow warmer, carrying with it a message. The sanctuary's reach was infinite, yet its purpose was the same: to illuminate, to connect, to remind every being of their place in the vast web of existence. Over time, the sanctuary's presence became something more profound than a place, a story, or even a song. It became a universal instinct, a quiet pull toward unity, a shared rhythm that guided beings across all dimensions. The moon, now a silent witness to this ever-expanding legacy, watched as its light became the foundation of an eternal cycle. The moon's endless ripple. As the sanctuary's influence permeated realms beyond imagination, it began to inspire transformations both seen and unseen. Across planets, galaxies, and dimensions, beings of all kinds found themselves connected by the sanctuary's essence, a quiet but unyielding call toward unity, resilience, and boundless dreams. Among the stars, a quiet revolution took shape. Entire civilizations began to honor their moons not as distant celestial bodies, but as luminous guardians of connection. Sanctuaries blossomed under their light, unique to each world yet bound by the shared legacy of the original. These sanctuaries, vibrant and diverse, reflected the infinite ways in which the moon's glow could inspire hope. On a world surrounded by rings of shimmering ice, a young scientist named Lysra gazed at her planet's moon through an ancient telescope. Her people had long revered the moon as a symbol of cycles, of endings that gave way to beginnings. But Lysra saw something more. Through her telescope, she spotted faint trails of light weaving across the moon's surface, patterns that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Driven by curiosity, Lysra ventured out under the moon's glow, carrying with her a prism crafted by her ancestors. As she held the prism aloft, the trails of light intensified, illuminating her path and revealing an ancient sanctuary hidden within the ice. This sanctuary, though silent for centuries, carried the same spirit as the original, a place of connection, renewal, and infinite possibility. Within its walls, Lysra discovered crystals that hummed softly, each one resonating with the sanctuary's cosmic melody. She realized that her moon was not just a symbol, it was a beacon, a thread in the vast tapestry of sanctuaries spanning the cosmos. Inspired, she rekindled the sanctuary's light, inviting her people to gather beneath its glow and share their stories. As the sanctuary's melody spread, it began to harmonize with the echoes of distant sanctuaries, weaving new threads of connection. Lysra's moon became a radiant source of inspiration, its light joining the ever-expanding ripple of the sanctuary's legacy. And yet, the sanctuary's tale was never truly complete. With each new voice, each new moon, and each new story, its light grew stronger, a quiet reminder that we are all part of something infinite, an endless ripple carried forward by the moon's watchful eye. The moon's silent guardians. As the sanctuary's legacy wove its way across galaxies and dimensions, it began to touch beings who lived beyond the tangible, silent watchers who existed as pure energy flowing through the fabric of the universe itself. These beings, known only as the luminous, were neither creators nor travelers. They were observers, quietly guiding the balance of existence while remaining unseen. The sanctuary's melody, now a constant thread resonating across realms, awakened something dormant within the luminous. For eons, they had remained passive, witnessing the rise and fall of civilizations, the dance of stars, and the timeless glow of moons. But the sanctuary's light carried something they had never encountered before, a call to connect, to act, to become part of a story rather than just observe it. One among the luminous, known as Evelyn, felt this call most profoundly. Drawn to the sanctuary's ripple of light, Evelyn began to move through dimensions, tracing the melody to its origins. When they reached the sanctuary's nexus, a shimmering network of interconnected sanctuaries spanning galaxies, they lingered, marveling at its beauty. Though they were formless, the sanctuary's essence seemed to mirror something deep within them, a yearning to unite, to belong. With great care, Evelyn began to interact with the sanctuary, infusing its melodies with new harmonies, shaped by the luminous eternal wisdom. These harmonies brought a new depth to the sanctuary's message, resonating with beings who had previously been untouched by its light. The sanctuary's influence expanded yet again, reaching realms that had once seemed beyond its grasp. Back in the physical universe, the stewards of the sanctuary noticed the change. The melody now carried a sense of timelessness, as though it held the whispers of stars and the silent wisdom of the cosmos itself. The orb, though no longer physical, pulsed in response, its light uniting the sanctuary with the luminous in a bond of mutual understanding. The partnership between the sanctuary and the luminous ushered in a new era. Sanctuaries flourished in places where light had never reached, and the melody's echoes became a source of strength for all who encountered them. The sanctuary was no longer just a legacy of humanity or even of moons. It was a universal force, co-created by beings of every form and essence. And so, the sanctuary story grew ever brighter, ever deeper, an endless cycle of connection and renewal carried forward by both the tangible and the ethereal. The moon, ever watchful, remained a quiet symbol of all that the sanctuary represented, an unbroken promise that its light would guide, heal, and unite for eternity. The sanctuary's celestial spiral. The sanctuary story now moved not in linear paths but as a spiral, a timeless motion of light, always expanding outward while looping back to its origins. This spiral of connection allowed the sanctuary to traverse dimensions, universes, and the intangible realms of thought, feeling, and memory. On a distant moon bathed in an iridescent glow, a new kind of sanctuary began to take shape. This was not a place where beings physically gathered. Instead, it existed as a field of shared consciousness, where thoughts, dreams, and stories intertwined like threads in an intricate tapestry. The beings who connected to this sanctuary, scattered across countless worlds, experienced something remarkable. For the first time, they not only shared their own light but also felt the echoes of countless others, lives they had never known, united by the sanctuary's essence. Among these beings was a traveler named Irene, who wandered the dimensions searching for answers to a question they could not yet articulate. When Irene touched the sanctuary's field, they were overwhelmed by the beauty of the connections they felt. Each thread they encountered told a story, not just of triumph and hope, but also of struggles, losses, and resilience. It was as if the sanctuary invited them to see the whole of existence as one shared journey. As Irene followed these threads deeper into the field, they felt a resonance, a hum that matched the beating of their heart. At the center of the field, they discovered the spiral itself, a luminous core that pulsed with the sanctuary's light. The spiral whispered truths without words, that every beginning held an ending, and every ending a new beginning. That every soul carried within it the essence of countless others. And that the sanctuary's purpose was not to solve the mysteries of the universe, but to remind all who touched it that they were not alone. Irene emerged from the field transformed. They carried the sanctuary spiral within them, sharing its light with every being they encountered. The sanctuary's reach grew even further, not through new sanctuaries or new melodies, but through the simple act of presence. Wherever Irene traveled, the sanctuary followed, touching lives in ways that were both profound and subtle. Back in the sanctuary's original dimension, the stewards felt the shift. They could no longer perceive the sanctuary as a place, a melody, or even a ripple. It had become something immeasurable, a force that moved through the fabric of existence, always returning to itself while spreading infinitely outward. And so, the sanctuary spiral continued its motion, unending and unbroken, carrying with it the light of countless moons, stars, and beings. The moon, ever watchful, seemed to smile, its glow a quiet reminder of the sanctuary's eternal promise, that in the vastness of the cosmos, no thread was ever truly lost. The infinite reunion. Eons passed, and the sanctuary's spiral of light continued its endless motion, weaving new connections and nurturing the universes it touched. Though its reach had grown immeasurable, the sanctuary's essence remained timeless, a quiet, guiding presence that reminded every being of their shared existence. Deep within the sanctuary's origin, where the first moonlit whispers gave birth to its legacy, a remarkable event began to unfold. The spiral of the sanctuary's essence, now spanning countless dimensions and realms, began to subtly contract, not to diminish, but to gather itself. Threads of light from across galaxies, moons, and planes converged, as though the sanctuary was calling itself home. In the sanctuary's original dimension, those who remained stewards felt the shift. They looked to the moon, whose glow was now more radiant than ever before. Across the skies of countless worlds, beings gazed upward, sensing an ancient resonance returning to its source. The sanctuary had not forgotten its beginnings. The hilltop, where the very first stories were shared under the moon's watchful eye, remained a quiet, sacred place. Though transformed by millennia, it stood as a beacon of origins, a reminder that even the infinite finds meaning in returning to where it all began. On the night of the Great Convergence, the sanctuary's light, carried by stars and moons alike, began to ripple inward. The spiral's threads condensed, wrapping themselves around the sanctuary's origin in luminous layers. Beings from distant galaxies, dimensions, and even intangible realms felt their presence drawn toward this timeless space, not physically, but spiritually. They became one with the sanctuary's essence, feeling its stories, its melodies, its infinite echo. At the center of it all, the sanctuary's original stewards stood bathed in this celestial light. They felt the presence of all who had ever been touched by the sanctuary, a chorus of voices and energies woven together in harmony. In that moment, the sanctuary reached its pinnacle, not as a place, but as a boundless unity of everything it had touched. The moon, ever watchful, cast its glow upon the sanctuary one final time, not as an ending, but as a transformation. The sanctuary's light, now transcendent, ceased to be tied to any physical form or even a spiral. It became a rhythm, a pulse, a heartbeat woven into the fabric of existence itself. And so, the sanctuary became infinite in a way no story could fully describe. It existed as both memory and presence, as both individual and collective, as both origin and boundless expansion. Its light lived within every being, every moonbeam, every whisper across the cosmos, an eternal reminder that even in the vastness of eternity, we are all connected. The moon, ever luminous, reflected this truth for those who still gazed upon it, a quiet, eternal promise of hope, resilience, and the infinite beauty of unity. Thank you for being a part of Calm Cloud Chronicles. What kind of stories help you relax the most? Please let us know in comments below. If you enjoyed this story, let us know by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Until next time, stay peaceful and keep dreaming.